Welcome to the Right Way Sports Network YouTube channel. My name is Shaun Chornobroff. You guys probably have seen me here before, but not in a while. I'm here with Christian DeBlock, Jacob Aframian, and Tom Seipp. We will be bringing a special edition to the YouTube channel. We are talking the most polarizing, the most painful, the most energizing, tier-worthy franchise. We are breaking down the current state of the New York Knicks and what has been an offseason that has really been one of conjecture. People have felt one way or the other. And, we have more news breaking every day, and it's really at a state of flux right now. It's a turning point in the road, and we'll be breaking down which direction the Knicks are really going in. But before we get into that, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon for only $15 a month. You'll make your money back with our gambling team that is rock solid. And you could also get our fantasy football draft guide, which I did a little bit of work on. I was really happy with the work I did. $15 a month, you could win your fantasy football leagues, and you could win a bunch of money. But with that said, now that I've given you guys a little bit of sales pitch, after you go subscribe to the Patreon, come right back here, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and now we can keep going with this video. Because the New York Knicks are rumored to be in talks with Donovan Mitchell, according to The Athletic. Donovan Mitchell, 3 times All-Star, averaged 26 points a game last year, 5 assists. We'll put it like this. His dad coaches for the Mets. He loves New York. He's a straight bucket. It feels like a match made in heaven. And with that said, while we do have 2 Mets fans on the call, I'm going to start with Jacob Aframian, the Yankees fan. Jacob, what would Donovan Mitchell bring to the New York Knicks?
Thank you, Shaun. Thank you for that incredible introduction. He would
That is me.
bring he would bring star power to the Mecca, to the Garden. The Knicks haven't had a star player like Donovan Mitchell, especially a young star player. I mean, I guess you could argue Porzingis, but we know what happened with there. And with Mitchell, he's a guy that's already been an all-star. He's had success. He's only 25 years old, and he still has so much left to give. And you mentioned like the New York roots, the New York ties. His dad working for the Mets, him growing up in Greenwich, Connecticut. All these factors, all these things that are sort of like it's almost like it's destiny for him to be a New York Knick. The thing that I also have thought a lot about is his connection to Leon Rose, who's the president of basketball operations to the Knicks. And I remember when Leon Rose got hired for the Knick job, this is what Donovan Mitchell said about Leon Rose. Quote, I think with Leon, who I know personally, things are going to trend upward. I love Leon to death. He's a great dude, great person, and a really good businessman. So I think they're going to start going in the right direction when he gets in there. Sounds like a pretty glowing endorsement to me. So who knows how that could play into the trade talks that are supposedly going down.
So, Tom, I guess kind of bouncing off that point, I'm going to turn this over to you. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, the talent's there, 3-time All-Star, as I said, hasn't been able to crack it deep in the playoffs. But one of the things I feel like we've seen kind of the Knicks focus on is those culture fits. We'll get into the Jalen Brunson signing a little bit later. But the thing that have lacked for the Knicks in the past is culture. You want to go back to the Isaiah Thomas days, the James Dolan fiascos we've seen with Oakley, and every other thing we've seen go through this franchise. It's felt like the only time I felt a real culture when you look at the Knicks is maybe during that COVID year, Thibodeau's first year and Randall as an All-Star. Or honestly, I think of the brief, really good Mike Woodson stint, was the only times in the past 15 years I felt like the Knicks had a culture, something where they had an identity, actually. A lot of people don't like the idea of a boys club, within a team, but with Leon Rose bringing in his guys, he identified Thibodeau from day one. Is that a productive thing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a trade that in my eyes needs to happen because Donovan Mitchell is the guy that can come in and make that impact, not only on the court, but in the locker room as well, right? This is a guy that it really seems like, and it has for a really long time, that he wants to play in New York. He wants to be that guy, especially in the big city. We could talk about the ties with Leon Rose or the Mets or how he's from Connecticut and just lives and breathes New York, it seems like. And yeah, to answer your question, it seems like that he is the perfect fit, right? I mean, you look at the last few years with the Knicks, they've had their ups and downs. Of course, they were a 4 seed in the East just 2 years ago. Can you even believe that after last year's disastrous season, which, really everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And now, we talk about the Knicks in the last, 20 years, right? And they never have really landed that guy outside of Carmelo Anthony. That was a huge land at the time, right? The kid from New York, the kid who went to Syracuse, and he was phenomenal as a Knick. But now it seems like this is the time that the Knicks could maybe hop on an opportunity here. They have an advantage that they kind of have the assets, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit, to give Utah, to get Donovan Mitchell, a guy who wants to play here, who wants to be a Knick. And besides Carmelo Anthony, who can we really say that about in the last 20 years, right? So in my eyes, this is a deal that has to get done. He will make the Knicks better on the court and in the locker room as well. So this is, in my eyes, the perfect fit and something that needs to happen.
So before I kick this over to Christian to block, I'll say the one thing when you look at that 20 season, the one thing that was missing was the Garden atmosphere, right? And as New York returns to a state of normalcy, having a Donovan Mitchell, having a guy that this city can build around, because that's what Randall was in 20. That's what Melo was. That was the thing that people loved about him. It was that he was a New Yorker that you could build. New York has its guys that they love. That was the thing. You talk to anybody above the age of 35 years old, holy crap, talk to them about the 1990s New York Knicks. I swear you might get there at breakfast. You're not leaving until after dinner because they'll go on for days and days because it was a team that was built on New York grit and grind. It was a team that they could all worship. And Donovan Mitchell, he comes in that mold. He comes in that exact type of guy that New Yorkers want. Because the thing is, every franchise, every fans want to feel pride. That is what is at the key of all the brand equity, all the business. It's pride. It's why everything comes down to, not just if they're good. That's why there's some franchises that even on their worst days, teams will still love them because they take pride in that. And when New Yorkers have the Knicks to take pride in, it's an atmosphere like no other. It's why guys like LeBron, it's guys like Kobe, they worshipped playing at the Mecca in that Madison Square Garden. It's why the Knicks are rumored with every phrase. It's not just because they're New York. It's because the lure of playing in this atmosphere somewhere so historic. And to have a guy that really wants that, a guy that's going to embrace that, that's something that's hard to come by because some guys really choke in that environment. But Tom did allude to those assets that the Knicks have. We know what happened on draft night. The rumors were that the Knicks were to go get Jaden Ivey. And then there was a trade with the Pistons, and the Knicks ended up trading away Jalen Duren, who they got from the Charlotte after they had already traded the 11th overall pick to Oklahoma City. It was a whirlwind of picks that ended up with Nerlens Noel and Kemba Walker being sent to the Pistons. All you need to know is that the Knicks have a lot of draft picks. I believe it's 11 first-round picks over the next 8 years, right? They have 11 first-round picks in the near future. So Christian DeBlock, as you look at this, you look at those draft picks, you look at the desperation that there is for this star that Tom alluded to. Is RJ Barrett an untouchable? Should RJ Barrett be in that, or can the Knicks actually avoid having to give up one of the core pieces of their rebuild?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's interesting because a lot of people think he may be untouchable. Some think, he's a guy that we could definitely trade in a possible deal for Donovan Mitchell. I'm kind of on the surface where we think probably not a max guy at this point of his career, but certainly somebody that the Knicks can build around. He's improved each season. He's went from a guy who really couldn't do much offensively on his own, at least, and now he's a guy who can get to the rim at will, especially on his left hand. And I think his three-point shot has certainly improved. I think his playmaking has gotten a bit better, and certainly his defense is something that's definitely improved as he's taken the role of playing the guy's best, a wing player at least offensively. So I think, to me, he's a guy that should be untouchable. I don't think he's a guy that we should be paying the max at this point in his career, but certainly a guy that if the Knicks want to get to where they want to go, I think you can pair up Donovan Mitchell and RJ Barrett. So if they can avoid moving him in this deal, I think that's certainly ideal.
So, Tom, I saw you shake your head. Shake your head.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you watched a second of New York Knicks basketball in the last year, there shouldn't be an untouchable on this roster. And yeah, while I understand that RJ Barrett has improved in those 3 years, watching him play in each of these 3 years, to me, he's never looked like a first option, a second option. Do we really think that if Donovan Mitchell is a Knick, do we think that him and Donovan Mitchell are going to play well with each other, right? They have similar skill sets. Obviously, I personally believe that, Mitchell obviously excels at them at a much higher rate, but I don't think RJ Barrett is an untouchable, right? I mean, he was on this roster last year where, again, yes, he had his career best year where the Knicks still only had 37 wins, when the Knicks still struggled mightily offensively. While he had his best offensive season, he still had his struggles. He still, went through these really cold stretches, which again happened, especially to someone who's only 21 years old, happens, to different shooting guards constantly, right? People with his type of skill set. But listen, in my eyes, he's not an untouchable, and no one on this Knicks roster should be an untouchable. And listen, I'm a huge fan of Obi Toppin. When he got real playing time at the end of the year, he had a 40-point game. He was averaging, 30 points per game. He was very good. I love Emmanuel Quickly and what he brings, but it doesn't matter. They're not untouchables. So I think to get a deal done, if his name has to be in it, obviously that really takes away from, how many first-round picks that they may acquire or other assets that are on the Knicks roster already. But he's not an untouchable for me. He's definitely in the conversation.
I'll be honest about this, and I was a staunch RJ Barrett hater early in his career. These three guys are three of my best friends in the world. We talk sports all the time. They know first years 1 and 2, halfway through year 3, I was an RJ Barrett hater. I thought he turned a corner. But I will say this: if I am Danny Ainge and I've already traded Rudy Gobert, right? I've sacrificed current winning. I'm not trading for a guy who's going to be looking for a max extension. I'm locked in and I'm pigeonholed into paying him for the next 4 years. I don't want RJ Barrett. I want the picks. I want to take the load of picks and have my load of cap flexibility and cap room. I want to be able to sit there and say, hey, this is what I did to build Boston. Maybe I had a couple strokes of luck. Don't get me wrong. But I had a bunch of picks. I had a bunch of leverage. It may have taken me a minute to get there, but screw it. You got to go in for the long haul. And having to pay RJ Barrett $28 million to be a ball dominant player doesn't feel productive to me because The Athletic did an article. Fred Katz, the Knicks beat writer, he did an article where he surveyed a bunch of NBA GMs and executives. They all agree that RJ Barrett, I think, was between 25 and 30 million. Like, you're not going to be getting him for less than 25 or much less. His floor is like 20 million, 22 million on what you're going to pay him. I don't want to be pigeonholed into paying that as I'm trying to rebuild a roster. I don't want to have that contract just sitting there. I'd rather have a bunch of guys who I could guarantee playing time because look at what OKC is doing right now. Load of draft picks. Guess what? Shea and Chet look like a really good duo. Sure, are they going to be a playoff team? No, they're stuck in the Western Conference. Don't get me wrong. But, you get those picks, you get those lucks, you acquire the right young assets you can develop at a cheap price and get them past the playing time. You're going to be a lot more optimistic about your future. I mean, my favorite example of that's actually Cleveland. Darius Garland, oh my gosh, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen were a surprisingly good trio last year with some really nice pieces. And are they going to be winning a title anytime soon? No, but I think they're in a lot better place than we thought because they decided to gamble on that young talent rather than overpay veterans, which is where I think a lot of the Knicks' mistakes have come. If I'm Utah, I'm learning from the mistakes every other team did and Danny Ainge's past success, and I'd rather have this trade, built around the likes of Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, and other young players, and a trove of draft picks so I can maximize talent rather than investing in potentially overpaying already maximized talents. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that.
I wanted to add on to what both of you guys just said. I agree a lot with what Tom said about RJ Barrett. To me, he's in no way is he untouchable. I don't know if I don't want to say I'm an RJ Barrett hater, but I feel like a lot of Knicks fans need to just calm down when they talk about RJ Barrett. Like, look, is it nice that we actually drafted a player who's not like garbage for once? Yes, that's nice, and we should be happy about that. But at the same time, I mean, he scores 20 points a game. Yeah, you were the third pick in the draft. I hope you could do that. I hope you could, be half decent. I don't think I'm tired of the expectations being so low for RJ Barrett, where it's always like, oh, you got a little bit better every year. Yay, we need to throw a parade. Nonsense. Like, remember who was picked in front of him. Remember.
Okay, then but you can't penalize him for who's picked in front of him. Look at
who's
picked behind him. Who's picked behind him?
Tyler Hero.
Come on, RJ's better than Hero. RJ Barrett is better than Tyler Hero.
Are you sure?
I'm 100%.
Yeah, that's not
100.
Jacob Aframian.
The numbers are comparable. Look at the numbers.
Jacob, I don't know your middle name, Aframian. What's your middle name? Don't say it on air. Jacob Aframian. Are you telling me that RJ Barrett, a guy who honestly was put in an awful offensive situation, with Julius Randle absorbing a weird amount of the shots, trying to make everything run through him, is better than Tyler Hero, who's playing with the Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, who's one of the second best passing center in the league, Eric Spoelstra as his head coach. Are you telling me he's better than RJ Barrett?
Let me rephrase this.
I'd actually very much prefer you rephrase it.
I guess RJ's better, but it's a slim gap. Okay, it's not like this.
You don't know
it's
ball.
like really.
I don't know how they're close.
What's so great about RJ Barrett?
I'm walking away. That's ridiculous.
This isn't even like we weren't.
I'm
even
walking away.
what?
I can't believe we spent 2 minutes on this.
All right, you know what?
Tell me, Jacob. Tell me what the gap is. Tell me why the gap is so close.
Because Tyler Hero is, to me, just as good of a scorer as RJ Barrett is. I think he's probably a better, more natural scorer than RJ Barrett is. And
A
he's
more
better
natural
shooter than RJ
scorer.
Barrett.
Tyler Hero can do nothing outside of shoot the basketball behind the three, and can he even?
He's
do that?
not a guy who can be. No, I disagree there.
A more natural scorer is someone who can get to the rim, who can create their own shot, who can also spot up shoot from the outside, which RJ Barrett, listen, to his credit, got much better in this last year and did that. Tyler Hero can do nothing besides catch.
You know what, Tyler Hero? You're gonna get mad at me for saying this, but
Hey,
you know
he
what,
dropped
Tyler?
like 40 like in his rookie year in the Eastern Conference Finals, though. He did that one game.
Didn't everyone in the bubble?
What?
Didn't everyone during
Yeah,
the bubble?
exactly. Jacob, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I'm saying he can also shoot free throws, which is something that RJ Barrett cannot do.
Oh my god!
Don't! Oh my god!
That's
RJ
very
Barrett first-
minuscule, but okay.
Really? It's minuscule when you're getting hacked at the end of the game and you miss free throws.
What did RJ shoot at the free
Yeah,
throw
well, I
line?
was going to ask you
For his
I'll bring it
career,
up right
he's just under
for last
70%.
year, for last year.
Let's see.
I'm
He
looking
shot
now.
No, I'm asking
70, 71.4. 71.4 for a two
Okay,
guard.
what's
That's
Tyler Hero?
pathetic.
What's Hero at?
Who cares?
80,
This isn't something.
no,
that we talked about.
86.8.
I think Tyler Hero is a more natural shooter, but there is a difference between a more natural shooter and a more natural scorer.
I'd rather start my franchise with RJ.
I just don't think the gap is
Like
that
Jacob,
big.
I'm trying to think. Like there are guys who shoot at the 3-point line better than Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's arguably the greatest scorer of all time. Like Duncan Robinson might be a better 3-point shooter than Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's twice the score. Not recently, but like I'm just trying to think of like a 3-point specialist. But actually, Curry is a better 3-point shooter than Kevin Durant. Who is the better scorer?
Kevin Durant. I'll answer for Jacob. It's Kevin Durant.
He gets to the rim. He's more versatile. Back to the basket. He drives. He fades. He pumps. He does it all. RJ has the more versatile skill set as a scorer. Tyler goes, when nobody's guarding him, good for you, bro, because everybody's guarding Jimmy.
Yeah, but when he is guarding, he can actually.
Damn fucking.
Yeah, but RJ Barrett doesn't even hit open
inside.
shots. RJ Barrett doesn't even hit open shots.
Oh my god! All right, where's this?
Let's move on. I can't believe we actually got caught on this.
RJ Barrett is not untouchable.
He's not. That's fine.
And
he's better than Tyler Hero.
And again, if the Knicks have to move him for Donovan Mitchell, so be it. That's how I feel.
So,
I'm not gonna shed a tear over that. I'll be honest with you.
So now moving on to someone that maybe Jacob thinks can hit open shots. Jalen Brunson signed a 4-year, more than $100 million contract with the Knicks this offseason. His father is now the assistant coach of the team. His agent is Leon Rose's son. So naturally, there is tampering involved in the Knicks.
Also, may I add, his father was Leon Rose's first client.
Yes. There
That
is
too.
legitimate.
I thought that was a fun fact, so excuse me.
There is legitimate family ties between Leon Rose and Jalen Brunson, as similar to honestly Donovan Mitchell, as we alluded to earlier. But Jalen Brunson comes in, and the Knicks said they needed a point guard to try to stabilize this team. They were fixated on it, and they got the guy that they targeted since day one. Which honestly, it depends on if you're half cup full or half cup empty on how you look at the signing. But Christian DeBlock, you were largely silent during the whole RJ Barrett, Tyler Hero debate that was not on the schedule. I promise you when we planned this. How do you feel about what did Jalen Brunson bring to this to the New York Knicks?
I think he brings a lot of what the Knicks have missed at the point guard position. We could talk about Elfrid Payton. We can go down the list. There's been so many different point guards that have struggled or not performed in the way we wanted them to over the course of the last 20 years now it's been a long time since the Knicks have had a consistent guy at that position. And while he's a very big overpay, I think, this is not the amount of money we wanted to give him, but that's how the market had him listed at. That's just what it valued him at. He does bring stability at the position. He's a guy that we can rely on to play 30-plus minutes a night, do what he needs to do, playmaking-wise. He can do some scoring, and he's certainly going to be active defensively under Thibodeau. So, yeah, $104 million to Jalen Brunson was by all means not the amount of money we wanted to give him, but I think it is the right position of need. So, like you mentioned, half cup empty, half cup full. I'm more towards the side of half cup full just because of the position of need, but certainly an overpay. I need to make that clear because it is definitely a lot more than what he probably should have deserved.
Yeah,
Seasons.
I think what also needs to be known, which the way you're describing it, I fear that you don't think this way. Just because the Knicks have had point guard issues since my father was born doesn't mean that this was the right move, right?
How dare you not give Chris Duhon the credit he deserves?
Listen, just because the Knicks actually made a big free agent signing, a big free agent signing with Brunson doesn't mean that he's the right guy. You bring the word stability up, which I don't know if that's the proper word to use. Just because, yes, he'll be good on the defensive end. Yes, he's a good distributor. I mean, listen, if you know me, you know how much I love college basketball. I've been watching Jalen Brunson since he was a freshman in college, right? And what I've seen is he really that good of a scorer? Now, listen, the immediate response could be, well, did you see him this postseason? Yes, when Luka Doncic was hurt and he had one fantastic series against a horrific Utah Jazz defense. When Doncic came back, he wasn't really as prolific in the postseason. Also, he was really not that strong like the year before offensively. Like, he hasn't been that good offensively, right? I mean, listen, he could distribute the ball. He could distribute the ball and play defense well, right? I don't think that's $26 million a year, but
I don't think so either.
Nonetheless,
God, no.
He could do that. I don't think this is the right move whatsoever. It kind of is really unfortunate that the one time the Knicks are saying, all right, we're going all in on a point guard finally, and this is the one they land. At the same time, I think it's also important to note that the $104 million is the 16th highest out of any point guard. So it's not like egregious. I don't think he's top 20. I don't know if he's even top 25, but nonetheless, I also want to point this out, and I maybe just a one-word answer from the three of you. Would Jalen Brunson have received, I'm going to say 90 million plus, maybe even 85 million plus if he didn't have the postseason he did this past year?
No.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Absolutely not.
I
said it's an overpay. I'm not disagreeing with you there.
I have a lot to say.
I vividly remember sitting on a couch with my friend who's a Mavericks fan and going, after Jalen Brunson had one of his games, I literally said, holy crap, my Knicks are about to pay the crap out of him, aren't they? And we had a good laugh because we knew it was coming. He said, yeah, he's off my team. And he's
remember the amount of times that I've sent messages, future Nick Jalen Brunson, when he's.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been saying it for months, so
I wish you were wrong.
We all knew it was coming, and I think we all and I think everybody in New York liked the idea of it. It's just, everybody likes Taco Bell, but I'm not going to pay $10 for a taco. I'll pay $2 for a quesarito, and I like the value. I don't like the value at this. Jalen Brunson.
That's fair.
It's a heck of an analogy.
He's good. He gets the job done, but I'm not paying gourmet prices for him. He's not top of the line.
If the Knicks, I really still don't think this is the move, but
yeah.
Say what you said.
I mean, this guy's been like what, 4 years? He's averaged more than 10 points a game twice. We're really giving someone who's never made an All-Star team, never even sniffed an All-Star game, a borderline max contract. I mean, how silly! I mean, it is so Knicks. That's why I want to start crying, because of how stupid it is. And yes, we have mentioned that they have not had a good or even great point guard in 50 years. And yes, I know that we were setting the bar high from the last one I'm referring to, but at the same time, it's been so many failed experiment after failed experiment. Stephon Marbury, Steve Francis, Derrick Rose. I can literally go on till the cows come home. But I'm not gonna do that. And it's just again, this is what I'm thinking. Who are they bidding against? Honestly, they were in such a rush to give this guy such a huge contract. Why? He literally seemed like he was meeting with no one else except Dallas. There was rumors about him meeting with Miami, and apparently that was scrapped. And probably gets paralyzed. Why would I waste my money on a guy that's not even that good? because he's smarter than that. That's another story. But again, I just don't. I wish I could see this with the glass half full. I really wish I could. But with this contract, it's so ridiculous. Like if this was like 4 for 90, I'd say, okay, fine. I think that's fair. And I think the fact that he went, berserk in that round 1 against Utah, like made his stock rise like it was just in a crazy way. And I don't know. It's just I hope that I am so wrong. I hope that Jalen Brunson is an all-star. I mean, if Jalen Brunson is an all-star, I mean, pigs
Probably
will
won't
start
happen,
flying.
but
Pigs will start flying. But again, it just bothers me because it's such a Nick thing to do. And another thing that I'm worried about is seeing how much money they're paying for some of these players. We're giving Brunson $104 million. We're giving Mitchell Robinson $60 million. We're giving Evan Fournier $70+ million. We're giving Derrick Rose
But every
$43
team
million.
has these issues now. It's just how the NBA is gone now.
No, I know, but
every team has this issue. You can't name a team that doesn't have an issue, pretty
But
much.
the-
at least
is there
one team,
any
at
team-
least one, every team has one bad contract. You would
the
think.
Knicks
at
have
least.
like 5.
Next, have 2.
I think they
Okay,
have, like,
Tom.
more
So I
than
think
that,
you
but
two.
anyway.
Before I go on my thoughts on the Brunson signing, I know you two have completely opposite opinions of Mitchell Robinson. Tom, I believe you think of him as a very undervalued player, if I'm correct.
Completely. Listen, I am not the biggest Mitchell Robinson fan. I can see how some casuals maybe think that he doesn't do too much, but
Wonder who you're referring to.
Casuals who think Tyler Hero are better than RJ Barrett?
people
no,
like
no.
that.
Don't you dare call me a casual. No, that's not going to happen.
Point being is he is a very undervalued center. I mean, listen, he has shown immense growth defensively for me. We all knew the shot blocking ability, right? But he's actually a good interior defender. Now I saw that definitely this year. He has improved greatly as an interior offensive player. Years ago it was really just alley-oop or bust for him, right? And now he's shown a little bit of growth, through that time of being a good player with his back to the basket a little bit, posting up players down low and really he's obviously gotten a lot stronger, especially over those last 2 years, right? So I don't know. I'm a fan of him. Of his, I think 4 for was it 60. I don't know how anyone would bat an eye about it. I think it's a completely fair price for him. I mean, if you want to say it's a little bit, honestly, I think I still think it's a fair price. So no, I think it was good to bring him back. I think it's smart to bring him back. Really, I thought it was no question in my mind. And really, I see no other reason for someone to say that we shouldn't have brought him back than you're just looking for a reason to complain.
So I honestly didn't really want him back, but I will say I was in favor of blowing all of this up. I wanted this entire thing blown up. I was restart, maybe extend RJ, but I was like, get rid of all the contracts you can, or absorb the contracts, trade everything you can for picks, and just really just invest in these guys that are really young. I love the idea of bringing Jalen Duren, and that was one of my things. I was like, do I like paying Jalen Duren $3 million or Mitchell Robinson 15 and investing in the young talent? I like the idea of bringing Duren at $3 million. But I think the thing that the Knicks community, and I think a lot of people have failed to, even when looking at Jalen Brunson, is they failed to realize, honestly, what I think, Tom, you've somewhat forgotten yet known at the same time. It was always Donovan. They were fixated on Brunson because he's the perfect complementary piece. When Luka Doncic is on the floor, here are Jalen Brunson's numbers. I have him up in front of me. With Luka on the floor, 15 points, 3.5 assists, 50.7% from the field, 42% from the 42% from beyond the arc. With Luka Doncic on the court, with Luka off the court, it was 22 points a game, 7.4 assists, 17 or my bad, that's his field goal attempts, 50% from the field, and 33% from beyond the arc. So it's a steep drop off from beyond the arc. But his production as a scorer, because he's a very crafty player, he doesn't do a lot of the flashy things, went up. His production as a playmaker went up. He's a guy that when your star player needs his rest, he can take over the game or he can keep things stable. I know Tom hates that words, but he can stabilize the game. You're not going to have that huge drop-off that the Knicks have seen in the past when they try to take the ball out of RJ's hands or Randall's hands, even though the drop-off's already there when it's in Randall's hands. Nonetheless, Brunson is that guy, and I think the Knicks were fixated on that because they didn't look at Brunson as the guy who he's going to come in and stabilize everything. They looked at him as the guy who's going to stabilize it in the moments where it needs to be stabilized and can complement your star. Because it was always Donovan Mitchell. While we were like, are we really going to run out there with Randall and Brunson and Barrett? No. All of this has been leading towards Donovan Mitchell. And that, in my opinion, is why they were so willing to overpay for Brunson. And we say, what was Brunson's market? Honestly, Tom, I don't think we know. We have no clue because he didn't want to meet with any other team because there was tampering. So I think he's known he was going to the Knicks since like February.
Yeah, I also think it's if you look at it from the outside perspective, right? If you are an organization and you are fixated on one free agent, like this is the guy I want to be a part of my franchise, you should be locked in on them. You should be, listen, this is the number I want to give you. I want to impress you with this number. I want you to come to us. I want you to play for us, right? If that's your thinking of as a franchise. So the Knicks obviously were fixated. Jalen Brunson, we want you, maybe to be a piece with RJ or Randall or maybe a Donovan Mitchell, right? They were fixated on him. That is our guy. They circled him on the big board. That's our guy. So that's why I don't think it's crazy that, they were fixated on him. They signed him immediately. Don't talk to anyone else. We want to give you a number that you like. Boom. He's there, right? I think you bring up some interesting numbers. Playing alongside Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is a top 3 player in basketball right now. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is not that, but
yeah,
it's really Donovan Mitchell and Doncic are very different players as well, right? So maybe it would be interesting to see, Brunson's stock rise potentially with Mitchell on the floor, because Brunson will have the ability to not only play make, but have the ability to dish off to Mitchell, right, and have him play off of him. So
yeah.
So yes.
No, I agree. That's where I think it was because I think when the signing dropped, we knew it was coming for a while. Everybody knew Brunson was going to New York, and it was like, holy crap, they actually did. They actually paid it. So I think there's a slight sense of genius in this, but not in the price tag. I think I think they knew the guy they wanted, and they paid for it, and I think they did overpay for it. To be honest, I think they did do that. It was a total overpay, but I do really like the fit. I think the fit was a good fit, and the question is, is it worthwhile? And I also think, to Jacob's point, there have been some bad contracts handed out in New York. And when we saw this one, we're like, okay, the Noel contract didn't work out. A lot of other contracts have not worked out in New York in recent years. So you were like, oh my God, you're making the same mistake over and over again. I think this is a different mistake. It may end up being a mistake, but honestly, I think this signing, I think this price tag is not going to feel as egregious as it did the moment it was signed come January, come February, and come down the stretch when we're getting towards playoff time.
Yeah, and I think something that is very important to note is that if you're a New York Knicks fan, if you look at the past, again, let's say 20 years, you look at the dysfunctional front office, right? The times that they've been mismanaged, right? The bad signings, it doesn't look like there's a clear plan. I think I am a fan of, Scott Perry, Leon Rose, everyone else involved, right? I've been a fan of what they've done so far. And I think if you're a Knicks fan, even if you don't like the signings, right, there is something that is very clear. The front office has a plan, and they're trying to figure out how to make that possible, right? They have a plan. They sat down and we want Brunson. Maybe we want to make a run at Mitchell. They have a set plan, and while we may not know what it is, and we didn't on draft night, and we didn't, as free agency was beginning, they have a plan. So I think as a Knicks fan, you should be like, hey, listen, for the first time in my lifetime, the front office has a plan, right? So even if you don't love the Brunson signing, there is a little light at the end of the tunnel that, hey, there's more to come. They have a plan to really redo this, right? They dumped off Walker. They dumped off Burks, who I was a fan of, but I understand. They dumped off Noel, who actually I also liked, but it was just way too much. They cut ties with Taj Gibson, and probably more to come, right? Obviously. So there is a plan. And while it may not be happening as quickly as people would have liked, there is a plan to continue to build on this.
So I guess that perfectly brings us to our final topic of the night as we kind of round this thing out. What is the state of the New York Knicks? We have it right here. The only draft pick was Trevor Keels, second round pick out of Kentucky after
Duke.
Duke. Oh my gosh, sorry, Duke.
God.
Sorry,
Sorry, they're
apologize.
both blue. Wrong blue blood. Give him a break.
No.
It was a bad mess up. It was a bad mess up.
Give
Considering
him a break. Who cares?
I went back and
The guy's gonna
rewatched.
be in the G League anyway. It doesn't really matter.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's not important. That's not important. I apologize.
what a
I
great
apologize.
start to the segment.
Just like you getting that mistake. It's not that important. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Let's
So
move on.
Christian DeBlock, I'm gonna go to you on this.
He's never even
Sure.
watched a second of Trevor Keels play basketball.
You're
And
right.
He's gonna be in the G.
He's
You probably
Yeah.
watched the 2 UNC Duke games.
That
He
is
watched-
why I don't
Or the
care.
3.
He's anti. He's a UNC guy.
Oh my God.
But DeBlock, Christian, when you look at this, the Knicks. Honestly, I think there's a really nice core of young players here, even excluding RJ. I'm a huge Deuce McBride fan, and even I think he's the 4th or 5th best young guy on this team. Between Grimes, Toppin, all those guys we talk about. And then you're looking at the potential of a Mitchell trade, the trove of draft picks, the Randall contract. There's some things maybe. It's this point where the Knicks are in a confusing place. They're in a place that feels like it's got potential, but it also feels like it could go down so fast. But where do you stand on the state of the New York Knicks?
I think it's, first of all, everything with the Mitchell trade is going to change in one way or the other, whether we're going farther away from getting to being contender or getting even closer. It really just depends on that. But as it currently stands, I think the Knicks are still ways away from being at the top of the Eastern Conference. You have the Heat, the Celtics, the Bucks. Those teams aren't going anywhere. The Raptors are getting better. We don't know what's going to happen with the Nets at this rate, of course, with the Kevin Durant and Kyrie situation. But still, they should have a pretty good core with or without those guys. The Hawks are getting better. The Cavs are getting better. The Eastern Conference is as deep, I would say, as it has been in almost a decade now. I mean, it feels like it's been a long time since the East has been this loaded with these many young, good teams. So I think with or without Donovan Mitchell, the core is good. I think the core is getting better, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be. You still have to worry about the final contract.
Hold on. Excuse me for a second. Jacob is spamming his keyboard and completely interrupting the block. Can you please be more subtle next time? The block, I apologize.
I honestly, Tom, I thought you were slamming that gavel thing you have on your desk, to be honest.
No, I'm about to. If he says Trevor Keels is going to the G League again, or Trevor Hero is better than RJ.
Who's Trevor Hero? I don't know Trevor Hero. Probably Tyler Hero.
Okay.
Hey, it's late. Like you guys know, it's like 2:45 in the morning right now as we're recording this.
Keep
We had
going.
technical
Yeah,
difficulties.
so, I mean, sure. I think, like you mentioned, Shaun, there is a lot of good young talent on this roster. I like Quentin Grimes as much as anybody, and I think
He's going to be in the Mitchell trade, though, if that happens.
That's the problem. I mean,
that's fine.
Jacob, to his credit, was high on Obi Toppin from day one.
Thank you.
He's improved.
It's literally because of okay. It's only
no.
It's literally only because of
Tom, if you lived in that house
basketball,
with me and Jacob our sophomore year of college, you know
Let me
how
have my moment.
Jacob didn't even know Dayton was a college when.
Yes, I did.
Tom,
No.
They play in like the worst conference in college basketball.
Yeah, that's not my
fault.
fault.
And a great conference,
But
88-10.
It is a great conference. Tom just goes to a school in there, so I decided it sucks.
Go Bonnies.
But yes,
Go Andrew Nicholson.
I
Rest in peace, Bob Lanier.
just to finish up. Am I good to keep going?
Dauber.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think the Knicks need a lot of time to figure things out, but there's certainly pieces on the roster that are looking forward to at least. But if they want to be where they want to be in the long term, there certainly needs to be decisions figured out in the end.
Okay, Jacob. So now that you got your keyboard typing out of the way, I'm about to break down here and I don't know what's going on in my head.
All
right. Now that you're,
you want my outlook of the team?
You can give your outlook on the team to finish us off here.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Keel's going to G League.
He is. So
Tyler Hero's an All-Pro.
God, I guess we're gonna hear the end of that one. Anyway. Yeah, so Christian broke it all down pretty well.
You're never going to hear the end of that one, by the way.
Whatever. I don't really care. As far as the Knicks, obviously this team was 37-45 last year. They blew a ton of leads. They had a lot of heartbreaking finishes, a lot of games they should have won but lost. And as far as where they are now, are they better? I mean, a little. I mean, as far as to what they are right now, they're a little bit better with Brunson. and Isaiah Hartenstein, we haven't talked about, but that's something that I like. Not a lot of money, I mean, it doesn't really, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, he's not Noel. Thank God they got rid of that contract. That was a terrible contract.
He was good. He was a good player when healthy, though.
Man,
He was great.
But when was that? That was
great when
never.
healthy.
When was he healthy? Never.
The entire 20 to 21 season. But,
That was last year.
Wasn't he
That
top
this
5 in blocks?
yeah, he was phenomenal. And then he was hurt
year?
last.
No one plays defense anymore. Anyway,
Jacob, you worship 90s basketball.
yeah. Are we in the 90s?
You would like it to be.
You think it'd be a lot better. Anyway, we're getting all
Oh
sidetracked.
my-
As far as where the Knicks are, they're, as Christian mentioned, they're still a ways away because there are so many teams in the East that they are not better than. And, that's obviously well known. And I just, to me, it's all about if they get Donovan Mitchell or not. If they get Donovan Mitchell, then we'll have to take another hard look at the Knicks because if they get him, surely they'll be a lot better than what they are right now. And if they're, without him, it's going to be a much different story. To me, if they don't get him and it's just the roster, as is just a lot of the same from last year. And obviously, if they want to get him, they're going to have to get players. Quentin Grimes, bye-bye. I will I will lose.
He's the guy that's going to be in the trade, but he's not someone you should be like, yes, please take him.
Well,
He's just ready to give him up.
Well, hold on.
That should be Cam Reddish. That should be Cam Reddish.
That
Here,
should be
please,
Cam Reddish.
take Cam
No,
Reddish.
hold on. Well, him too, but this is the point. Don't cry over Quentin Grimes, please. Do not cry over Quentin Grimes. I'm almost like I can't even get it out. Don't cry over Manuel quickly. Bye. You can gladly go. Do that floater in Utah.
To the people who are watching, Jacob does not know what a role player is. Okay, he does not understand what it's like to have an important bench too. Obviously these players are not star players.
Don't buy into the summer league, please.
Quickly.
Who in the summer league? Who in the
Quentin
summer
Grimes.
league?
Quentin
Nobody
Grimes.
said Chris McBride.
Quentin
Dude.
Grimes.
It was good down the stretch.
I would have said this last year.
That's very important in this era of spacing. What? You just worshiped Tyler Hero like 20 minutes ago.
There's a
Tyler
role
Hero was the
player.
6th man of the year.
Tyler Hero.
What are you gonna do, RJ? But all the role players can go. The role players don't matter. Tyler Hero's 6th man of the year, but he's better than RJ.
So that's the point I was going to make. That's actually the point I was going to make, Jacob.
I didn't say Toppin.
Well, obviously, because he's from the same hometown as you. So, he's untouchable. All right, anyway, I'm going to interrupt you because, listen.
Tom one time hit a three-pointer in Obi Toppin's brother's face. I'm surprised.
Jacob Toppin, ran in his face. I mean, I had 6 points against him. He had 0 against
He
me.
he must have taken a playoff.
Anyway, how? Because I said 6 points. It's 2 threes. Anyway, anyway, I'm interrupting Jacob because I think this is a very important note. Jacob, you just said that the Knicks, if they get Mitchell, they're definitely going to be better. That's not necessarily true because it depends on what is included in the trade, right? If the Knicks, there was a reported deal that the Knicks rejected on Tuesday night that included Quickly, Toppin, Grimes, Reddish, and 6 first-rounders. Now, listen.
Well, that's ridiculous. Yeah, obviously, got to reject that.
That is the group, right? Quickly, Toppin, I don't even remember who else I said. Grimes.
I said Reddish. Did you say Reddish?
Losing Quickly and Toppin, those are 2 of your top bench pieces. And now this is a very unique situation where normally in the NBA, trades do not normally happen this late into the summer, right? How are the Knicks going to bounce back really quickly and add to their bench? Because free agency is kind of done. It was a terrible free agency anyway. So how are they going to really replenish their bench? I don't know if it's necessarily, if they get Donovan Mitchell, they're better this year immediately. You need to know what's in the deal first, right?
So, Tom, I mean, when you say that, though, you have to look at what the remaining bench pieces are, right? Like, how high are you on Derrick Rose? We know we're not the highest on Evan Fournier.
Jericho Sims.
Jericho
So you
Sims.
just don't buy into the summer league, though.
No, he's very good.
I think he'd be a valuable at trade asset. But
okay, listen. What also needs to be known is that the Knicks need to make it. If the Knicks get Donovan Mitchell, and we haven't mentioned this once in the 44 minutes that we've been talking, if the Knicks get Donovan Mitchell, they need to move one or really 2 of the following 3: Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, or Derrick Rose. It's not going to work financially unless they move at least one of them, probably 2 if it's Fournier and Rose. Now, obviously, are the Knicks going to trade Rose because it's Thibodeau's boy, and are they really going to move him again? Randle's he's a mess.
He's
You
a
know,
disaster. No, say it. Say
Yes.
it. He's a disaster. You want to say it? Say
He's
it.
a
He's a
Tom will
disaster.
say it
disaster.
with his chest.
he's a
I'll say
disaster.
it for him.
There's really no
He's a
question about it.
disaster.
Obviously, if it was up to me, the Knicks would move him
Right.
in a second, right?
For a sliced bread.
What needs to be known is that for it to work financially, the Knicks are going to have to get rid of other pieces of bigger contracts. Now, you can also look at, listen, they've done it already with the Noel contract that really wasn't that bad, but according to Jacob, it's the worst contract to ever happen in the history.
Disaster.
You know,
No, I
obviously,
didn't. No.
they got
I
rid
did
of
not
Timber
say that.
Walker.
I
They
didn't
got
say
rid of
that.
Alec Burks.
Exaggerating.
It's minuscule moves, but again, it needs to continue to be more. So again, in the deal, they're going to get rid of Fournier and Rose, or if there is a god, Julius Randle, right? So it all depends on what really the deal is, because sometimes, especially in the NBA, you can look at trades and be like, okay, listen, it's going to be clear that if this trade happens, it's going to be for the following people, right? In years past, we can really normally do that for a lot of things. When Anthony Davis was getting traded to the Lakers, everyone knew that it was going to be B.I., Lonzo, Josh Hart, right? Players like that. Like, everyone knew what the structure and the framework was going to be. You really don't know what the framework could be in this situation, because any player on the Knicks could be a part of this deal. Any single player on the team, any player on the roster. So we don't really know what the framework is. So to say, like Jacob did, that the Knicks are going to be better if they acquire Donovan Mitchell is not necessarily true immediately.
You don't think they'll be? You don't even think they'll be a smidge better if they acquire Donovan Mitchell?
Okay,
It depends on what we give up.
Thank you for
He's
listening
right.
to me for the last 3 minutes. It depends on what we give up, or what the Knicks give up, and what ends up coming back. Now, I've also read a lot that a trade could happen where maybe it's a little bigger of a deal, to include a Randall or something, and the Knicks also get Bogdanovich, right? Now that would be huge.
That would be nice.
See, so
That's the guy I want.
there's other ways to work around it and enhance the deal, right? But again, you don't know. You can't say right now that the New York Knicks in 2022 to 23 season are going to be better if Donovan Mitchell's on the roster. You can't say that right now. You really can't.
So I'm going to interrupt here because we're at 46 minutes and 53 seconds. Before we started this, I said, guys, let's make a quick 25-minute video.
You didn't say that.
I think I did.
He
I
was
said it
certainly
out
thinking that way.
I'm
It
here
was-
25 minutes.
loud. So
Because
been
Jacob
a
would have
great-
said, "Oh, I can't get through my first answer then."
So it's been a great 25 minutes with you all. I really appreciate anybody who's toughed this out. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. But honestly, I think the disagreements here have been representative of what you see. If you're from this New York area, you have these conversations regularly of the way this franchise is viewed right now. It's literally people who are like, the Knicks have to get better. They will. Or it's, do we want to get rid of these bench pieces? You're at a turning point in the road. And when you're on a turning point in the road, it all falls. The only place you look at is the front office. So from here on out, it's going to be Leon Rose's game. Is he going to be playing chess or checkers? And that's what Knicks fans will be watching. But thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, subscribe to this channel, like this video. Thank you guys for the past 48 minutes of your time, and subscribe to the TWSN Patreon again. You probably forgot I said that by now, but just in case you didn't do it in the beginning of the video, just go find it. You get daily betting picks. You'll make your money back every single month, and you get a fantasy football draft guide, which you're truly played a part in. That's right. I know football too. Thank you so much. And also, if this trade goes down in the next few days, Jacob Aframian is on the ball every Friday to tell you your Homer.
Thursday.
Your Homer old school pick. It's Friday. It was tonight. I apologize. It's past
It's okay.
midnight.
I was just gonna say, you mentioned Leon Rose. Is he gonna be playing chess or checkers? Let's just hope he's playing one of them. I think.
I apologize. every Thursday night.
That's what you felt that should have been included. Like that.
I had to get that in there. I
Wow.
mean, the guy doesn't talk to anybody, so let's just hope he can play a game for crying out loud.
Listen, okay.
Every Thursday night, you can get that at On the Ball. That, Will Lachlan, and Pranav Raman, people who think RJ Barrett is better than Tyler Hero at basketball.
Because they have-
People that think one of them thinks that
We're gonna be
one of them thinks that John Stockton is only the 9th best point guard of all time, but that's another loony.
You can discuss that next Thursday and On the Ball. Remember, subscribe to the TWSN YouTube channel, subscribe to our Patreon. Thank you guys, and have a great night.